Hi you guys, this is Jamie with Whatever's Clever Boutique, and today we are going to create this super gorgeous layered, we're going to say kind of like Milky Way, leopard, tumbler. I've done stuff similar in the past, but with this one I kind of wanted to go with the monochrome type look using the same color leopard as we have Swirl, and I absolutely love how it turned out. So let's go ahead and get started. Today we're going to go ahead and use a 32-ounce travel mug from the Tipsy Magnolia, and I went ahead and base painted my tumbler kind of like a beige tan color. I thought it would go better than the silver as a base, but I didn't want to take the time to spray paint the swirl of all the different colors I was using, so I figured this was a good neutral. So we're going to go ahead and apply a super thin coat of epoxy before we go in with our glitter. For our glitters today, we're going to use Athena, Goddess, Acadia, which is kind of like a gold, brown, teal mixture, Coronation, Pogue, and I believe we have Cold Brew here as well. These are all from Peachy Olive Glitters, and I am so excited for this swirl. Now, I'll be completely honest, I just kind of went in and started going. I didn't really have a complete picture in my mind of how this tumbler was going to be. So this was kind of an off the whim glittering here. I created a larger section of gold, which in the end you don't see because of all the layering that I do. So you can or you don't have to, but I just went in and started layering my glitters with the Coronation. Then I went in with Cold Brew kind of next to that. I didn't take the Coronation all the way up to the top. And then I took that Acadia and I created like outlines with the brown. So I was really trying to just blend the colors here as best as I could. And with this first layer of glittering, I'm not going super heavy-handed. I'm just laying down the foundation of the glitters so that I can get a good picture for what I want my end to look like. And here's where you can tell I didn't know what I was doing because I went back in with Coronation and then back in with Athena. So I do love how it turned out, but I will say that it definitely was a little bit harder to glitter this because I really didn't have a picture in my mind. Now that we have the foundation of our base laid, we're going to go back in quite a bit heavier with those chunky glitters. So I'll kind of just let you watch here. We're going to start with Coronation and just start blending those colors until they are to our liking. Now that we have a really good chunky base, we're going to go ahead and tap off all of that excess, and now we're going to take our Goddess and our Pogue as well as the Cold Brew, and we're going to really solidify the blend of the swirl into one another. Taking fine glitters that are the same color-ish as the chunkies that you used before, it really just gives it the super seamless feel that you want when you have any sort of Milky Way or ombre or any design really that you want the colors to not have harsh straight lines. So taking that fine glitter and just building up that blend is totally 110% something I would suggest. You don't have to, but I definitely would suggest to do so if you're trying to achieve any of those looks. Again, because I didn't have a full game plan here, this glittering process did take me quite some time, but I do love the way it came out. So now we're going to go ahead and just press down all of that glitter with some parchment paper to make our epoxy process so much quicker. By patting down that glitter, you avoid having sharp pieces sticking up in your epoxy, excess sanding, all of that jazz. So I would recommend patting it down. Now I'm going to go in with one coat of epoxy. And after that one coat cures, we're going to go in with a second coat. In this layer, we're going to take some micas. I have May from Simply Sarah's Customs, Chocolate Brown from Arteza. I have Vladimir from Simply Sarah's Customs. And I have Pop's Beard from Simply Sarah's Customs. So we're going to go ahead and put a thin coat of epoxy all over our tumbler to get us started on our mica swirl portion of the tumbler. Now that we've got that epoxy all over the tumbler, we're going to mix up our little measuring cups with about 5 milliliters of epoxy and our micas. I mixed Pop's Beard and Vladimir into one mixing cup to create kind of like a creamy tan color rather than the more stark that the Vladimir was. So I'm just going to go ahead and mix those all up together, and then we're going to start applying them to the tumbler. Now for the fun part. To apply the micas, it's super simple. All I do is take my popsicle stick and just start drawing the lines throughout the tumbler. So the only rule of thumb that I do, and again, you can do whatever you'd like, this is totally up to your creativity and your style, but I try and just not put the same color into the same color glitter, if that makes sense. So I didn't want to put the brown mica into the brown glitter because you really just wouldn't be able to see it all that well. So I tried to avoid the sections that were similar colors. But I'm just going to take that popsicle stick and apply the micas until I am pleased with the outcome. And then I'm going to go in with a gloved finger and I'm going to pull each of those sections to get that harsh line look out of the mica striping. So I start by just pulling all of my teal sections, and then I go ahead and move on to the brown, and then I do that tan. And as you can see, it really softens the flow of the tumbler rather than having it be super stark lines throughout. And once we love how that's looking, we're going to go ahead and take our torch and pop any of those air bubbles we created. We really did mess with this epoxy a lot, so you really don't want to miss this step. Now for epoxy coat number 3. Like I said, there's a lot of layering. We're going to take Norma Jean and jojoba, maybe, I don't know if I'm saying it right, jojoba, jojoba. But I'm going to take those two glitters, both from Peach Yellow Glitters, and I'm going to mix them into a medicine cup with some epoxy. Now, you can do this in your step before, but what I have found in the past is when I do it with the mica layer, the glitter dulls a little bit because it ends up blending with the micas. So I do this on a completely different step. On coat number 3, I do the same thing. I put a fine coat of epoxy and then I mix those glitters in with a little bit of epoxy and just pull it through the tumbler in sections that I am wanting. And it creates this gorgeous, gorgeous dimensional effect. Now, both of these vinyls are from Tech Wrap Craft, the best vinyl on the planet. I am obsessed. And I used the digital file from Bear Trends Design, and I just cut out the leopard print in those two different colors. And now, as you'll see here, it's hard to see when I showed you the vinyl earlier, but I created an offset on half of them and then just left the other half just the regular. But what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna lay this, and I'm gonna lay sporadically the regular leopard print and the outlined leopard print. And that just is gonna give a different dimension to the tumbler. And like I said, I'm going for monochrome here, so it doesn't stand out super stark on the tumbler, but it's one of those things when you have the tumbler in your hand and you're going to take a drink, you just see the really cool subtle effects that are on the tumbler completely throughout. There's no SVG on this design, no decal. We're just going for the monochrome swirl with the different leopard prints, and I absolutely love how it turned out. You can add as much or as little leopard print as you want. Now for our next coat of epoxy. I got this Beach Please glitter from Feather Bear Bling. I got it in a cup swap package, and I initially was going to just epoxy and be done here, but I saw this glitter and it had these big chunky pieces in it. And I didn't so much want the stars, so here I am kind of picking out the stars and putting the chunky pieces of glitter into my medicine cup. Now, a totally optional step. You don't have to do this if you don't want, but in the end, oh my gosh, I was so glad I did it. So just like the other coats, I did a fine coat of epoxy, a thin coat of epoxy, and then I mixed that Beach Please glitter with some of that leftover epoxy. And as you can see here, those chunky pieces are so much fun. I absolutely love how this glitter looked on the tumbler. I have never used something like this before, so whoever it was that sent me this in a swap box, thank you. I don't recall which one it was, but I love it. And once we get it applied to our liking, we're gonna go ahead and hit that all with the torch, because there's a lot of chunk in here, which can create a lot of air bubbles with all the pulling we were doing. So again, don't miss this step. Okay, can we just take a minute to look at all of the depth and dimension in this tumbler? I couldn't be more pleased with how this tumbler came together. I love it so much. It's gonna be so hard to sell it. But after that coat cures, we're gonna go in with one final coat of epoxy, and this tumbler is finished. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Of course, everything that I used will be listed and linked in the description box below, as well as some discount codes for you. And I can't wait to see you guys apply this design with different colors and different glitters, and just, it's been so much fun. I love the monochrome leopard look with the offsets and the regular leopard. It just came together so flawlessly. For tumblers that you don't necessarily have a full vision for, sometimes it can be fun, yes, time consuming, but fun to just go through the process and see what the end result is. Because I knew I wanted a monochrome swirl type look, but I couldn't see it in my mind, if that makes sense, before I started the tumbler. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, or if you loved it, or if you're gonna try it. Please go ahead and tag me so I can see your beautiful creations. And feel free to like and subscribe. It really helps me out. And thank you guys so much for coming back week after week to watch my tutorials. I hope you guys have an amazing weekend, and I will see you guys again soon.